Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hi.
Yeah.
Hello.
My name isn't Babs Live. My name's Simon. Normally, I'm the other side of the camera. I'm doing the social media at the moment, so you've probably seen my work, but probably haven't seen me. But I've said I'll volunteer for today's session. So pleased to see you all. And in a minute, I'm going to hand you over to Martin, and he will talk you through how today's session will go.
Fucking sounds terrible.
If that's all right with everybody else.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Simon.
Fine, thank you.
I'll hand you over to Martin. Thank you, guys.
Good morning, everybody. Hiya. How you all doing? You all well?
Morning, Martin.
Yeah, morning. That's fine. Look, we're gonna have to mute everybody just for during this because I did present this to a course the other night, and halfway through there was a voice from the kitchen that said, "Would you like peas and carrots with your fish?" So it might be a good idea for us to mute. So Simon will probably mute everybody, and then I'll unmute myself. But please feel free to interject. You know, if there's something that comes initially to mind, then please press your space bar or do whatever you have to do and interject. If you've got any glaring questions as well, pop them in the chat. That will be fine. We'll cover them as best we can at the end. So I see some names there that I know. Good morning to you. To the people I don't know, good morning to you as well. Thanks very much for joining me. This is always interesting when it comes along. Martin presents his aging voice, which I don't know whether that's a good title or not. So, look, I'm going to get into this. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go through my little bits. As I say, we're going to mute everybody. So if you could do that, Simon, and then I'll crack on and see you on the turn, so to speak. Tell me, just somebody.
Yeah, we've got it, Martin.
I need to unmute, Martin.
Didn't I? How about that for technical? You see, memory's gone already. So there you go. Look, I was asked to present this as part of my candidate singing judge training. We all have to present on a topic. And I realised that obviously I was getting a bit older and maybe everybody else wasn't, but then I suddenly thought actually everybody else is too. So this may be of interest, regardless of whether you're very senior or, you know, if you're a youngster. There's going to be things that's going to affect your voice as you get a little bit older. So it's very much a don't panic video, not video, presentation of slides. So done with a bit of jollity, so let's not get too heavy on this. I give myself a little caveat to start with. I'm not a medical expert. I'll make that quite clear from the off. But all the stuff that is in here is medically correct. I will say that. Okay, if there's anyone with superior medical knowledge and they want to chip in, that's absolutely fine. That'll be brilliant. If you don't know me, I started my singing with Thames Valley Chorus as a tenor, had a wonderful time with them. I now sing with Bristol as a lead. Fortunate to be their lead section leader, possibly because he had nobody else. And I'm part of the current double senior quartet champions bagatelle. The first one to probably be 2 years on the trot, only that's because we can't do it, but that's great anyway. Okay, lads. Here we go. And ladies, now this stuff is going to apply to both genders, okay? It's not gender specific. I just want to talk to you first of all, just the voice and really a general description. Voice is characterized by its intensity, frequency, and harmonics. Harmonics are hormonally dependent. Don't worry, I won't be putting up sentences that you can read already. There will be comments as well. There's nothing worse than a presentation when you put the slides up and people have already read half the stuff. It's not really nice for anybody. Your vocal mechanism, you've got to exercise it regularly. Okay, it's got a series of muscles you've got to exercise regularly, particularly in these times. We know we're all struggling with not being able to meet physically. I would suggest that maybe we're not singing at our full voice when we have our meetings. Just some clarifications here. Stages of vocal aging. Puberty. Now, these are generally accepted parameters and ranges. Okay, don't beat me up if you find these incorrect, but these are the generally medically accepted ranges. Boys about 12 to 16, girls about 10 to 14. Now, in our early 20s and the 20s plus, we've got really good strength and flexibility in the voice at that point. but it declines a little by the late 20s and into the early 30s. But it starts to decline a bit, but around that point, it's probably considered to be at its most mature from a biological level. So we're really in good nick at that point. Middle age, generally accepted to be about 45 to 65. The ladies at menopause, which has a direct effect on their voice, as we'll see later. General range again, most ladies 45 to 65, can be 30 to 60. I know there will be differences in this, but we're just putting them out there as general points. So what happens during those phases? Well, during puberty, as we probably all know, the larynx and the vocal folds, they have a growth spurt. So they go from, vocal folds in babies are about 3 millimeters long. And ours, as we get older, they're not big. They're probably only about 10 to 14 millimeters long. So, they're not big at all, but they certainly grow to this. Here we go, middle age, the effects of gravity everywhere. I think we're probably all a bit familiar with that, yeah? And we get some muscle fatigue. And what it can do, it causes the larynx to drop in the neck. So it alters the distance from the vocal folds to the mouth. And we know that that's the vocal tract, yeah, from the vocal folds up to the mouth. And because it increases in length, it alters its resonant frequencies, its features a little bit. So the lower frequencies are a bit more enhanced. So you're going to sound a little bit deeper. There we go. That's what I've just mentioned. Beyond middle age. Oh my goodness. Here we get to the bit beyond middle age. Yeah. So what happens to us, guys? Our vocal folds get thinner and they get stiffer. Now they can start losing their straight edges. So when they're closed, they're not going to fully meet together. And a gap can develop between the two. Peekaboo through there, or do it on my shirt or something. Yeah. So some breath can escape and the voice can start to sound weak and breathy. Yeah. There's a posh word for this. It's called presbylarynx. Yeah, and there you see it. It's caused by loss of vocal tone elasticity, affects quality. You may have heard it called bowing vocal folds or glottal insufficiency, another way of putting it. So on that left-hand diagram, here we are looking down the trachea. The bottom bit is your cricoid cartilage, the bit where your Adam's apple is. Okay, so we've got those vocal folds there. Epiglottis doing its little bit, which stops the water going down into our lungs. And this is when we're breathing in on the left. When we phonate, we make a sound, they come together. And on the right-hand side, you'll see there's that little vocal fold bowing, which starts to happen. Now, all this stuff that I'm talking about is not going to happen to everybody. It's really not. But it could. Okay, you just need to be aware of that. If you're involved directing or in quartets and stuff, then these are things that you just need to be made aware of, so you can talk to your people about it if you're involved in coaching as well. So in ladies, the menopause. Now at that point, as we know, the hormones, it changes and it affects the vocal folds, but it affects them in a few ways. They become slightly thicker and stiffer, and there's a reduction in the number of glands that produce mucus, which lubricates the vocal folds. Yeah, and it causes dryness. So hydration is absolutely crucial. Now we know hydration is crucial for all of us, okay, but particularly at this point for ladies, because they're going to get a lot more accentuated dryness, perhaps there. And the vocal fold changes, so it lowers the pitch, and it can cause some high note loss, and the quality can get rougher and breathier. Aging in the body. Love this one. So, the joints stiffen. This is all the depressing bit, guys, before we get on to the good stuff, okay? So, the joints stiffen, affecting spine flexibility and alignment. You'll see that diagram on the right-hand side. On the left of those three gentlemen there, we've got an unadjusted alignment. You can see how it's basically a bit of a slouch. But the main point to see on that one is the position of the head, how it started to jut forward a little bit. Now, the average head, or the weight of the average head, not the average head, weighs about 12 pounds, okay? And there is a mathematical ratio, which I haven't put on here. People can look this up, you mathematicians. There is a ratio that shows how the weight of the head increases the further forward it gets away from the body, and it increases quite substantially. So when you think of the amount of work that the muscles have to do around the neck to support the head, yeah, as you get it further and further forward, the muscles have really got to work hard, which creates tension. And we know the phrase tension in the body equals tension in the voice. Yeah, it's a well-known phrase amongst us, yeah, and singers generally, not just for barbershoppers, anyone who's singing. That right-hand side, you'll see a little bit of, the middle one, I beg your pardon, middle one, you'll see a little bit of self-adjustment there. So now we're standing up a little bit straighter. We've got the head coming back a little bit more. And then on the right-hand side, we're probably in the better aligned position. Now, we talk a lot about alignment. It's a big buzzword for us at the moment. It's always been a buzzword in singing, not just for barbershoppers, but it's great now that we're getting exposure to people who are talking about this a lot more. We talk about long back of neck, short front of neck to allow us to maintain a steady flow of airway. Now, we can't stand. Our spine isn't straight, so we can't stand absolutely rigid. And I do know that when we started this alignment thing, if you can see me, if you put it on speaker view or something, you can see me. There was a lot of this, okay, I've got to get myself aligned. Right, my head's back now, I'm absolutely perfectly aligned. So here we go. Right, okay, I'm going to start singing. Well, that doesn't sound very good. Well, absolutely right, because there's so much tension there. You have to try and aim for the best alignment position that you can get. Okay, try and get the best alignment position you can get. And the key alignment points, the middle of the outsides of the ankles, the middle of the outsides of the knees, over the middles of the outside of the ankles, the highest part of the hip bone, over the middle of the knees. I'm not going to go keep doing this, Uncle Tom Cobley and all. Yeah, so the highest part of the shoulders, over the hips. And the difficult one is the middle of the holes of the ears, over the highest part of the shoulders. And that's the one that always causes a little bit of issue, doesn't it? Because we get all tense and try and do this. You just got to get it as best you can. A nice thing to do when you're singing is just put your hand behind your head and just raise your head slightly, just a little bit, nothing massive. Yeah, okay. You can do this thing where you put your down here. There are various tips and tricks. This is not a singing lesson, but your MDs and your skilled coaches will know all about these key alignment points. As your joints stiffen, it can affect how the larynx is suspended from the skull. So it has an impact on the free moving of the rib cage, and it makes breathing a little more difficult. Our bones become brittle and break. It's all depressed up now. Our bones become brittle and break. They take longer to heal as we get a little bit older. Not just when we're old. Yeah, as we get older, it makes movement more difficult, and it's going to make exercising more difficult, which is all going to have a little bit of a direct influence on how we sing. Our cricoid cartilage gets calcified. That's the complete ring of cartilage around the trachea, the bit that has your Adam's apple there. That's the biggest part around there. There's a fabulous book, if you are so interested, if you can see my screen, if you can, and you want to take a snapshot of this, but I'm sure it will become available. It's called Anatomy of the Voice by Theodore Demon. Now, the nice thing about this book I've found, because it covers everything that we talk about, but it's got pictures in it. Look, it's got coloured pictures. Now, the only snag about this book is that you're not able to colour them in yourself, which was a bit disappointing. So I was looking forward to that bit, a little bit of colouring in. It's a great book. Your laryngeal cartilages, they lose elasticity with age, and your joint fluid becomes a bit thicker, and it affects the ease of the movement of the joints there. So the age that happens, it can have a direct bearing on your muscular responsiveness, the quality of your voice, in vocal agility, and in florid passages, in sweeping phrases. So the calcification thing is something that happens and affects us quite a bit. As I said before, it's not going to happen to everybody, these things. These are just pointers to make you aware of if you're feeling like that, okay? Muscles weaken and lose tone. That can affect laryngeal muscles in and around the voice box. Remember, there's loads and loads of muscles as well as cartilage in our voice box here. Our hearing deteriorates. Here's another posh word for a Saturday morning. Presbycusis. And the higher frequencies are lost. So S's, TH, F's are harder to discriminate. Not just in general conversation, but if you're stood on the risers too. You may find the person next to you might not be able to hear those ones as well, which can start affecting confidence and things like that. Our memory deteriorates. We all know that one. Yeah. Does that affect the voice directly? I would say not directly, but what it does do, it affects your confidence. So if you're suddenly thinking, oh, can't remember that little bit, which I used to be able to remember, and you're going to think about that a little bit more, and therefore you're going to take your focus off your singing. So your vocal quality, it might be a little bit of a distraction here, but don't beat yourself up because it happens. Yeah, we just got to try and realise that that's what's happening. Try not to affect. This is a great one. Gums can recede, your teeth can get loose, and you can have dentures. This is real fall apart stuff, isn't it? This. I bet you're so glad you tuned in. What does it do, though? It affects articulation and clarity. It affects the articulation of your speech and clarity. So just be aware that those things can happen. Now, lungs lose capacity. Here we go. We're really on the downward cosh here, aren't we? It just means that breath management becomes more and more important. Yeah, and that loss of capacity, it affects your ability to provide a steady airstream to vibrate your vocal folds effectively. So, that what can happen. So breath management stuff that we all do a lot of, really important to keep that maintained. Our digestive system slows down. Not everybody, remember, folks, they're just, things to look at. And it becomes less efficient. Don't sing on a full stomach. We've heard that many a time. Why not? Because your diaphragm, when you inhale, as we know, it flattens. It sits on top of this visceral cavity, which holds your stomach, your liver, and all the other bits down there. If your stomach is gorged or extended, it's not going to allow your diaphragm to complete its natural full cycle, I would suggest. Hiatus hernia, acid reflux, that can affect the way we control. Neurological input to our muscle change with age. I'll let you have a read of that. Overall number of nerves we have affects your fine movement. Okay. If you want to have a stretch at this point, then please do. I'm just going to have a little stretch just for a sec. I know we're all nailed to screens for our life with Zoom. So please feel free to just have a stretch, have a drink. Water, of course. We'll get onto that. All right. Done. Okay, here's the next bit. The nice bits. Strategies. Use it or lose it. You'll see that picture there on the right-hand side. Have fun with a straw. Now we talk about straw exercises an awful lot, and we talk about SOVT exercises, semi-occluded vocal tract. It's a fancy way of saying that your mouth is half closed. Seem to have lost. There we go. Yeah, it's partially closed. This chap, Ingo Titzi, he's a vocalist. He was an engineer by profession, mathematician, but does a lot of work on vocal science. And he was the guy who really brought this to the fore. You'll see a lot of exercises now on YouTube with vocal straw work. This was the guy who was the instigator. You're more than welcome to watch him. Google him on YouTube, but I have to say he stands in a very straight, well, probably perfectly aligned, against a dull grey background with a grey suit on and a straw in his mouth. And I have to say it's not the most entertaining way of presenting, but the exercises are very, very good. If you like something with a bit more humour, then have a look somewhere else, really. What's the advantage of straw phonation, as we say? Well, what it does, it improves the efficiency of the vocal mechanism. You can see on that right-hand side there, when we pass air up to our vocal folds, we do get pressure from above, yeah? From below, I beg your pardon. We get pressure from below. What this does, by partially closing, is that it allows equalization of pressure, so you're not going to tire your vocal folds as much, okay? You don't get vocal fatigue. They're great for warming up. It balances the alignment of the vocal folds, and it improves the vocal quality of your voice because you're reducing vocal fatigue. A nice thing to do with this is record yourself singing something, happy birthday, a tune that you know well, before you do anything like this, and then do some vocal straw work, and then record yourself afterwards, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I carry a vocal straw, I carry a straw in my car all the time. When I go to rehearsal, when I drive to rehearsal, I stick it in my chops and I give it a little bit of a warm-up. So I warm up a little bit for the warm-up before I get there. You do this for about 10 minutes a day. It's not going to do you any harm. Please don't do it for hours and hours, because that's not a good idea. If you do this, you can do some hums, some slides, some light tones. Can I suggest when you put it in your mouth, you don't bite it, you don't put it between your teeth, because as soon as you do that, you're going to get tension around this jaw area. You just rest it between your lips and do some exercises. You can do it in a glass of water, without a glass of water. Your qualified MDs, vocal coaches will know about this, I'm sure. There we go. Keep mentally active and practice storytelling. Do a crossword, maybe. If you're blessed with children, grandchildren, read them a story, read an article out aloud from a newspaper, for those of you that still get newspapers, or read an article out loud from the BBC News, yeah, just to keep things ticking over. Hum and sing gently along to the radio or your favourite track, and practice regularly. But now I don't suggest Black Sabbath at 7 o'clock in the morning. Possibly not a good idea. Okay, but just hum and sing gently. You can hum all day. It will not do any harm when you don't do it, you know, with great intensity. Move it or lose it. What am I losing? What's going on here? Sorry, guys. Yeah, move it or lose it. Exercise regularly and within your limitations. Eat a healthily balanced diet and drink 8 glasses of water a day. How many? 8. Yep, I know. Have some first thing before your cuppa. I keep a bottle of water by the bed. When you wake up in the morning, have a sip first before you have your tea and your caffeine. Just start to get some water in your system. Maybe before you have a cup of tea during the day, have a little more water. These are recommended levels, of course. I know it's difficult, yeah, but I have to present the best scenario. If you smoke, speak to your GP about cutting down a little. I know that's probably difficult. I don't smoke myself, so I don't know that, but I would imagine it is, and it can be. Smoking is like taking sandpaper to your voice. If you just have a picture in your mind of someone rubbing sandpaper over your vocal folds, which might make you whinge a bit, or twinge a bit, and make you whinge a bit as well. You know, that's what it does. So if you can, then please just cut it down a bit. Think of your posture and your alignment all the time. I get a chance to dress up now. Look, now here, this is a thing called a posture corrector harness. Cheap and cheerful, whether you want to wear one or not. I'm going to pop it on, if I can. What this thing does, and because we're zoomed to death and we're sat at meetings and stuff, it's got little Velcro straps on there that allows you just to pull it back slightly. And what it does, it just pulls your shoulders back into a more aligned position, a little bit more comfortable. Look, we're all guilty of doing this on Zoom. I'm doing this during this presentation as well, okay? But something like this, which is not very expensive, is a good thing to have during your meetings. You can pop it on during your meetings. Another good thing to do is the car mirror exercise, which you may or may not be aware of. When you get in your car, get yourself in your car as comfortable and aligned as best you can, so you're nice and upright. Use your headrest to allow your head to come up just a little bit more, but make sure you're safe for driving, okay? First priority, make sure you're nice and safe. Get comfortable in your car, nice and relaxed, ready to go. Adjust your car mirror. Every time you get into your car, if you're not sat in a well-aligned, comfortable, safe driving position, you won't be able to see out of your car mirror. Don't do what we always do. We jump in the car and then we adjust the mirror, okay? Because sometimes we get in like this, sometimes we get in like this. You can set your seat to a comfortable, safe driving position, then you'll always be able to see out of your car mirror. Yoga, Pilates, Alexander technique. I have a session about once a month, which is very alignment based. Try those things out, but think about them all the time. Even when you're sitting down, there we go. If your posture alignment is not the best it can be, I'm going to suggest you really can't take a proper breath. Certainly not a singer's breath, that's for sure. Be aware, you know, that some medications like antihistamines, they can cause dryness. So I'm not saying don't take them. Yeah, absolutely not. If you need things like this, you must take them. But just be aware that they can cause dryness, okay? So increasing your hydration all the time. It's something just to have a think of. Go easy on the booze. Oh yeah, right, Martin. Yeah, like we're going to do that. Okay. First convention back together. Everybody's going to say, well, Martin said we're going to go easy on the booze, so I better be really careful. If you can, just go easy on it. I don't think I've ever drunk as much gin in my life at the moment, but there you go. That's what it does. It irritates the membranes of the throat, yeah, the gullet and the stomach, and can give you acid reflux. Have your hearing checked. Fine. Have your hearing checked regularly. Not only so that you can hear others, but so that you can monitor your own speech and your articulation remains clear. And possibly the best one of all, have a singing lesson. Go to a recognised professional, someone you trust, someone you respect, someone recommended, personally recommended to you. Is a very good idea. It's like having an MOT for the voice. And they can probably hear things that you may not be able to hear. A bel canto style is preferred. Bel canto, for those of you that don't know, basically means beautiful singing or beautiful song. It's an Italian style of singing around the 16th century, developed in Italian opera later. It's associated with lovely melodies, Puccini, rapid note singing, florid passages. And a lot of our vocal instruction that we know of today comes from this particular style. I'm not saying find a bel canto specialist, but a good teacher will be aware of these sorts of principles, but not a canbelto session. Now here's a canbelto lesson. I think the student on the right is trying to sing an R vowel. I think the teacher, if you want to call him that, with the one with the hat on, I'm not quite sure what vowel he's doing there. And it looks like his hand is saying, now let's just get that voice a little bit more forwards, can we? If you could just bring that out a bit more. So if your teacher does that or looks like that, no disrespect to him because he's doing a fine job, whatever he's doing, I don't think he's a singing teacher. You might just want to think again. Vibrato versus tremolo. This came up and I just want to talk about this with you. You know, vibrato and tremolo, they may sound similar to the untrained ear, but they're really unrelated in their production. Vibrato happens really as an oscillation of the frequencies within the vocal folds, and it comes out as a wide natural resonant vibration, and similar to a wide sound wave. And I'm going to suggest it's the result of healthy vocal technique. Okay, don't shy away from having a little vibrato in your voice. Now, don't confuse it with this. Tremolo or trillo is a rapid change in pitch or even volume. Here we go. Vibrato. Heart of my heart, I love you. Little bit of warmth at the end. Tremolo. Heart of my heart, I love you. Don't know how that came across. Haven't warmed up, be perfectly honest. But what I'm trying to say here is that the tremolo, what you're doing is you're manipulating your vocal cords in a muscular way. Okay, so you've got to watch out for that. With vibrato, we hear the great quartets or great singers. There's a little bit of warmth in their voice. You don't be shy about that, but you know we can't have a lot of tremolo. The style that we use, of course, we need to get our lock and ring going. We need to have our sound waves aligned and all the technical stuff that goes on with that. Okay, but a little bit of vibrato in ballads, and at the end is lovely. You'll hear the great quartets when they finish a ballad. There's always a little bit of a warmth and a little bit of a finish. Yeah, so it's a nice little thing to have, but just be careful with it. And what does tremolo do? It damages your voice. It allows improper airflow. It causes muscular strain away from the pitch. And your vocal cords are very clever. If you do things often enough, you're going to train them. It's going to train improper development in your chord coordination and your tone production. And finally, back to those pictures at the beginning we had. Tony Bennett, still singing, recording at the age of 94, singing like an angel. If you're not familiar with his 2 duets albums, which he did his first one, I think, when he was 85, second one when he was 90. Check them out, singing with lots of great singers. Just fantastic. He did a television interview, I beg your pardon, in America to an audience of music students. And a lady did ask him, Mr. Bennett, after flanneling him, obviously, with praise, said, I got any advice for us? Any great exercises, things we could do? He said, I'll give you 2 pieces of advice. Cool down your voice and rest your voice. Cool down your voice. Now there's one. We talk a lot about warm-ups, don't we? Getting the voice in condition. Cooling down the voice. What we're doing is just putting it back after energetic singing, okay, after a chorus evening, when you've used your voice a lot, we want to just get the voice back to a little bit more of a state of rest. Just exercises similar to our warming up, but really just gentle hums, little slides down with no effort, just putting the voice back to rest. You don't have to make this a feature of your chorus rehearsal. We know that at the end of chorus rehearsals, we finish with a good one. We like to finish on a high. But when you're putting risers away, when you're in your car, before you go to the pub, just give yourself a few little hums, water, some slides down, just a little rest. Ella Fitzgerald, final performance at Carnegie Hall, age 74. She sang there 26 times. I'm sure we'd all like to sing there once, really. I know I would. Pavarotti, Carreras and Domingo singing in their 70s. Now, I know Pavarotti isn't singing in his 70s anymore, God bless him. But they were. Domingo's voice changed a little as he went through, started off as a tenor, as you're probably aware. Then his voice dropped a little bit, with baritone singing. He was singing big roles, Wagnerian roles. But because of good vocal technique and good vocal health, which is kind of what this presentation's all about, he was able to maintain that great singing quality there. Manage your expectations, folks. Singing's got to be enjoyable. That's why we do it. It has to be enjoyable. And although we can't stop time, we can improve the physical and vocal health by probably following some of those above suggestions. You're certainly going to feel happier, healthier. You'll definitely sing better. That's for sure. So don't beat yourself up. But thanks for listening. Look after yourself, whatever your age. Doesn't matter whether you're 20 or 220. And I'll stop sharing now. And if we want to have a chat for a few minutes, then we certainly can. But thanks a lot, guys. Please unmute everybody. I'm happy.
Thank you, Martin.
Pleasure. I'm going to have a look at the chat.
Martin,
yeah. Simon, yeah, if you deal with that, that'd be great, Simon. Yeah, please go, whoever that is. Jay.
Yeah, I put a comment in about Tom Jones still singing at 80. I know he has regular vocal checkups all the time. He also talks about avoiding the cough. I don't know whether anybody's noticed, but he doesn't cough. He goes, ah!
Right, here we go then. Right, Jay.
About coughing.
Yes, here we go. I'll quickly do this. I got 3 questions that came up from various choruses and people I presented this to. And I'll deal with that one. Should I clear my throat? Harsh clearing, if you harshly clear your throat, you're going to bang your vocal cords together, okay, and damage them. Please never clear your throat like this. I'll do it once. Never do that, if you would, okay, because that will bang them together. If you're cleaning your glasses, a little like you would clean glasses is good for clearing the throat. You could do that. Sip water, swallow hard. Drinking green tea with honey can help. Stay hydrated. Now, if it persists and you find yourself having to clear your throat more than is comfortable, then it may be a medical condition. It may be. As I said, I'm not a medical expert, but if you find it's excessive cleaning of throat, but please steer away from the harsh stuff. You're going to do that. You're going to do that. Another one that came out, how long should I warm up for? That's a cracker, isn't it? Time limitations on chorus, right? We're going to have a 20-minute warm up and then off we go. You know, the answer really, in an ideal world, until you are ready. Until you're ready. Now, if you've got your straw and you're humming on the way, that's fine. I think we probably best mute, lads, if you can, because I'm getting loads of feedback. Just highlight yourself when you want to speak, would you? Thanks. Yeah, until you're ready. Not everybody's going to warm up the same because we've all got slightly different vocal mechanisms. We have our warm-up at chorus rehearsal. Our MDs and coaches are very experienced in getting our voices into good health in the period of time that we have. But if you feel personally that you are not, if you find yourself in your first song stressing and straining and you're not warmed up properly, please don't try and compete with perhaps someone who is better warmed up, okay? Because you will, not only will you do yourself in, you're not doing the chorus any favours, you're not doing your MD any favours. Now, I'm not saying don't sing, but I could say gently sing a little bit more. You don't have to give it absolutely full welly. You've got to look after it, guys. You've got to look after it. For me, it depends. It depends. Sometimes I'm warmed up better than I am others. There's lots of factors in there. But whatever you do, if you don't feel right, don't stress and strain, because you'll never last the rehearsal, and you'll do yourself more harm than good. Now, you can't use it as an excuse. You can't say, well, I'm sorry, I couldn't sing that song, director, because I'm not warmed up yet, darling, so I can't possibly do that. Okay, don't use it as an excuse, but please look after it, lads. If you don't do that, you may get things like polyps, nodules, okay, which means you're very much in trouble. Final one that came out: why is my voice deep in the morning? That came from a ladies chorus. Why is my voice so deep in the morning? So look, during sleep, what happens is the throat collects fluid, which is also, that's why our eyes look puffy as well in the morning, and the lack of vocal cord use during the night causes that mucus to build up in the hours that we spend asleep. So plenty of water straight from the off. Sometimes we have to sing early at competitions. We got to warm up really early. We maybe don't feel at our best. Plenty of hydration, gentle exercises. Okay, anybody got anything else you want to share? Simon, if we've got any questions I can cover quickly, that would be great.
I've got a really... Sorry, Martin, there's one in the chat that's just come in.
Yeah.
Don't do very challenging songs early on. That's one for directors from Frank.
There is value. Yeah, there is value in that. Absolutely, yeah. That's it's an MD's personal choice. They know their singers far better than I do. But just bearing in mind about the straight in from the off, because you want to be able to have a good full rehearsal. I'm not saying don't do great ones from the off. Please don't get me wrong on this. But just look after your voice. MDs know what they're doing to look after their singers. Yeah.
Sorry, I just had a quick one. As a new director over lockdown of a chorus that is mostly aged singers, I'm using I'm trying to be nice. Is there mature? Yeah, mostly mature singers, a men's chorus. Is there any way of me better kind of portioning my time in a rehearsal on different things, or?
Probably yes. I mean, the Zoom rehearsal thing has thrown up all sorts of, hasn't it, rehearsal issues. We know we can't rehearse as properly as we can. But I would say now, as lockdown's hopefully unfolding and we've got a bit more light at the end of the tunnel, then we need to get our singers singing a little more fully in rehearsals now, because we need to get back into shape for when we do physically meet. So it's a lot of personal trust, isn't it? You're going to ask your singers to sing full, and you just got to say that, be upfront and say, look, guys, when we get back together, if you're not getting up to speed, it's going to take us ages. So you got to trust me, and I'm relying on you to really go for it a little bit more now. Make sure you're fully warmed up, but you've got to start singing more fully now, folks. You have to, otherwise, when we get back together, we're all going to suffer. You'll be shattered after half an hour. Not shattered, but you know what I mean. We want to come back the best we can be, really. So get into it, yeah. Thanks, Ray. I hope that helped a bit.
Yeah.
Great.
Hey, just to answer that, I've been doing one-to-ones with my guys, which may help, get them to sing something, play their stuff over their end, but have it open so you can hear what they're singing against, but you can clearly hear what they're doing, and that will give you an indication as to where they're at.
No, absolutely, that's great. There is value in getting your guys to, if they like it. Some people don't like doing it, we're asking people to do things some people want to do. Singing into their phone, sending a recording in, getting some critique. I know it sounds a little more different over the phone, but at least we're getting that ball rolling a little bit more to trying to get back to as best vocal health as we can. But you just got to keep this vocal health stuff going, folks. Really now, it's so crucial. Otherwise, you're going to be personally disappointed. I think you're going to say, "Oh crikey, what a shame." Yeah, get yourself back into good nick if you can, as best nick as you can. Anyway.
Martin, moving
yeah. Hi, Erwin. Hiya.
I went to see a speech therapist about a year ago because I was very concerned about my voice degenerating. and she mentioned this 8 glasses of water a day, and I nearly collapsed. It's very difficult if you think about it.
Yeah.
Now, well, a question to you, you may have an answer. Now, I'm assuming the other liquids is mainly the caffeine problem. Is it the caffeine? So therefore, if you drink decaffeinated coffee, does that count as a glass of water?
Well, yeah, I was to say I'm not a medical expert, but we all know that caffeine does have a drying effect on your voice, like alcohol does.
I was wondering, because we by choice we do decaffeinated. Apart from if I'm an, I can't. But so I'm cheating a little. So I'm counting decaffeinated coffee as a glass of water.
It's a great step. If you cut it down on the caffeine, then that's going to be a great step. Just supplement it with water. I did present this to Harmony Federation chorus, IABS. Our time's running up now. The IABS chorus, all the guys, and when I talked about 8 glasses of water, they said, well, Guinness is actually 95% water, so can I have 8 pints a day? And I couldn't really disagree with them.
But it was interesting. A lot of the things that she mentioned, you've mentioned.
Well, that's good.
and particularly with the straw, using the straw, and the coughing, she actually highlighted the coughing. It was interesting, that question. And she actually mentioned Tom Jones doesn't cough.
Yeah.
And it was interesting how that's come in again. And the other thing, you mentioned all those Presby things. You never mentioned presbyphonia, which is a diagnosis she had. And, you know, the press means aging. It's Latin prefix for aging. And you've got the larynx and a bit. But the other one that seems to come up more regularly, you can actually Google it, is presbyphonia.
Yes, it does. Yeah, you're right. I couldn't get it all in. I couldn't get it all in, Mervyn, in the time that we had. But yes, that's another thing too.
But I am finding my voice is recovering a little from doing the exercises. And so the exercise part is very, very relevant. So it's just the extremes of high and low are the major problems at the moment.
It is, and we're going to lose some of those pitch. And an area that may suffer a little bit too is like a passaggio area. So we call it break point, which is an awful word because break implies what it says here. Passaggio meaning passage from the Italian, as you're probably aware. If you can do some passaggio work as well to help you with your registers, that's really, really good thing to do. And for breath management, an exercise called messa di voce, which is basically starting soft, getting louder on a single tone, on a particular vowel. R vowel is good because it's nice and relaxed. And then diminuendoing or decrescendoing, maybe count for a count of 8, and then decrescendoing for a count of 8, trying to keep the voice going forward all the time. That's a really good exercise for breath management. That's part of the bel canto school of singing. It's a great exercise. Passaggio work and messa di voce exercises are really, really good.
Martin, Barry's got a question. I think he's been keen to ask a question.
Absolutely.
Barry, you're muted.
Hey, hi, Dick.
Hi, mate. Barry's muted. We can't hear what he's saying.
When Shanna put this out, Martin, earlier in the week, she said, did anybody want a copy of the presentation? And I said, yes. Is this presentation that you just done, is it available?
Yeah, yes. What I can do this. So this is my Mervyn. You'll have to mute yourself, buddy, if you're on the phone. What I do is I have a complete presentation that I send out when I do them to choruses. By the way, if you know people in other choruses or your chorus and they're not all here, I'm quite happy to come along and do this to any choruses because it's nice to do it to people. I do have a complete one that has the comments that I said but weren't necessarily on screen. So I think probably the plan is for me to share that with BABS, and you can access it through their educational part. I'll find out what's happening about that, and it will certainly get around. But we tend to do it through the organisations as opposed to personally. Otherwise, I'd be doing it all day, I think. But yeah, I have a complete one.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure, mate. How are we doing, Simon? I think we're kind of over the bell, maybe.
Yeah, I think we started a little bit late, but if
Dale wants a word.
If anybody's got any other questions.
And then Martin, hi.
Hey, hello, my friend. How are you?
No,
I'm not bad, thank you. And you?
I'm fine, thanks. Getting older, but there you go.
I just wanted to very quickly wrap this up for you because obviously we're running over a little bit now, guys.
Yeah.
Also, just to add on to what's just been said, all of these sessions are recorded. So the recordings of them will be available later. So the presentation's kind of built into that.
That's great.
You've also got everybody's comments, which is nice to have as well.
That's great.
I just wanted to add on to what Martin said. He showed you a book. I think it's The Anatomy of the Voice.
It was.
I've got a couple more to suggest to you on the same subject. I was chatting to Martin about this the other day. I recently purchased this one, which is, if you're a technical person and you like all of the anatomy and stuff like that, this is really, really good book. It's called A Singer's Guide to the Larynx, Nicola Harrison and Alan Watson. And then the other one, very specifically, okay, that's A User's Manual for the Aging Voice by somebody called Martha Howe. And all the stuff that Martin's just been sharing with you, it's all the same stuff in here and tons of tips and things in there. So that's great. Can I just take the opportunity to thank Martin for a fantastic presentation? Thank you, Martin. I really, really enjoyed that. Very
pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank
you very much. Don't forget, if you want it, if you want it presented to any of you guys who've missed it or anybody, then give me a shout and I'm always happy to drop in and vary your evening if you like. But thanks Dale for giving me the opportunity to present it. Thanks a lot.